Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of GnWC Weekly. I'm the Duke, and I'm joined by my good buddy,
Brad Maddox.
Brad Maddox. What a prick.
You don't like it?
What a prick.
What's that? He's cocky son of a bitch. He definitely is, for sure.
That is so amazing that he had to know he couldn't say that kind of stuff, but at the same time, it's just like, you fired him over that? Really? I feel like people have done worse, said worse. But anyway,
he's in fact done worse. I don't know if you know.
Oh, okay. Then maybe that's the part of the story I don't know.
Oh, you really don't know? Is that honestly true?
I really don't know. I never had a vested interest in him, so I never really got deeper into the story. I just knew that he had been in a couple of storylines here and there, and then he said some mean stuff, allegedly trying to be a heel at an NXT house show, and that was his last show. That's what I knew.
So yesterday, the biggest story in wrestling history.
Oh, so this is recent revelations that I'm not aware of.
I cannot believe you don't know this.
I saw a reference to it today, and so it was just funny that you said his name. I thought it was a coincidence, but apparently it wasn't. Go ahead.
Paige and her sex tapes have been leaked online.
Uh-oh.
And almost all of them involve Brad Maddox. And one of them involves Brad Maddox and Xavier Woods.
Uh-oh.
So here's the thing.
Oh, that was the reference. Someone said someone said they're two. Okay, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of up, down, down references going on now.
Oh, no, that's bad.
And puns and stuff like that. That's why I said when you said he was a bit of a prick, or whatever you said. I'm like, okay, obviously.
Oh, no.
I forgot he got fired for that
that,
reference back in the day. Yeah. So the short of it is, like, a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, and we're not talking like one video. There's like 6 of them, and a lot of pictures have been made publicly available. Paige has not denied. Well, obviously you can't deny them. It's her. She is, basically just said that they were released without her permission. Her parents and brother have gone on to say, like, this is private stuff that should have said private, blah, blah, blah. And there's this dividing line between the loyalist fan base over, like, goodbye Paige, and there's no way she should be fired for something that's private. Fact of the matter is, a couple of them seem like they're done backstage. You can hear the crowd in the background. I don't know that for a fact, and yes, I've watched 1 or maybe 2. But I didn't really analyze the audio of it. I was just like, all right, let's see. Oh, okay, yeah, all right. And I just, clicked to the next one. You can apparently hear the live audience in the background.
Wow.
Meaning that they're somewhere backstage. And 2...
No, we're not posting links. Sorry.
Brad has... there's one with Paige and the NXT Women's Championship belt with Brad Maddoxing over everything.
That's messed up. All right, can we move on? That's Angry Larry. I'm the dude.
No,
stuff and didn't really want to. Can we move on, please?
2 more people have things that are being teased and linked out right now.
Oh no, who?
Caitlyn.
Oh.
Alexa Bliss.
Well, there was fake stuff for Alexa Bliss for a while.
Well, it's on the borderline, because whoever's been leaking this stuff has been on the, the same people who've been doing, what the hell's her name from Twilight, the feminist who's doing all those interviews, Beauty and the Beast. She's Belle. The hell's her name? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. The same person that leaked those pictures, Emma Watson.
Oh,
is doing this stuff where they set up a little bit of a tease.
Yeah.
And then, boom, the next day, it's just like all right there. So it remains to be seen. But a follow-up to a story I had last week with Jack Swagger saying that he's been released, asked for his release, and has been granted, and WWE going back and saying, no, it has not. Officially, it has now finally been done. Jack Swagger is gone from the WWE.
Yeah, but he's still under the 90-day no compete, so he's kind of
Right, but he has a match with Alberto El Patron in Paige's family's organization in England.
yeah. Good luck with that.
Which was being advertised before he even had
Right.
his release. So that's where the whole like
Yep.
hold up and stuff was going on. Have you watched any of the ROH TV tapings or anything that you were a part of?
No, have I been on TV? Did I make TV?
I was looking for you.
I
No,
was way up.
you
I
would
was
have
way
had
up top, so
yeah, you would have had that. And the way the stage is set up,
Right.
there was very few crowd reaction shots.
Yeah.
But to your point of what we talked about privately on those things about bad crowd, bad chants, and stuff like that, that is no indication of ROH crowds, by the way. It was pretty different.
Yeah.
So when you're saying that,
I didn't think that was an ROH thing, because any ROH I'd ever seen seemed like people were pretty on board, and I was just like, man, these guys are just they're literally like that was when I came back and said, okay, I get everybody's point with crowds trying to put themselves over in spite of the show, because that's what was happening. So it shows on TV, unfortunately.
oh yeah, unfortunately,
That
in most
sucks.
matches, it's just like, my God, this crowd is.
Yeah,
But then there was
sucked.
the Jay Lethal, Jay Briscoe match, and the crowd was pretty into that one as well.
Which that was a great
So,
match, and I like how they protected everybody in that match, really. So
And then they had the
was good.
eight-man match was probably the last match, right? The one that you didn't stay for.
No, that was the one. No, that wasn't actually the last one.
They probably taped it all out of order then.
Yeah, it was the finals of whatever that tournament was, which I still don't remember the name of the tournament.
It was the Decade of Excellence tournament. It was Daniels versus Jay Briscoe.
Yeah, that was the last match.
Yeah.
That I missed, which I'm sure was great. Yep, that was the match.
It was pretty good. I think they taped it out of order because I think the last match that they showed in the TV set was the Team ROH versus Team Bullet Club stuff.
Which that was a great match, and it was sort of a send off for Dijak, so that makes sense that it would have been, even though it wasn't taped last, it went on last for the show.
No, Dijak wasn't in that match. It was Briscoe's, Lethal, and Bobby Fish. Actually, you know what? No, the match I'm talking about might have happened in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, might have happened in Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
Because their TV tapings are so staggered that the first two tapings happened before the pay-per-view, and the second two tapings happened after a pay-per-view that hasn't existed yet.
Right.
And that's kind of what with the lull we're in right now. Last Friday was their pay-per-view, their All-Star Extravaganza. And like now we're going to have 2 weeks of the prior TV tapings that's not even going to hype what happened there.
Oh, wow.
And like that's the worst part about Ring of Honor.
That's the Ring of Honor problem then. Okay. Yeah,
it was Christopher Daniels won the title.
It was some multi-man match that I forget what it was called, but Dijak won, and he was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was
match.
the TV title #1 contenders match.
That's what it
was.
was.
Like Dijak,
Yep.
Shelley, Sabin, Leo Rush, or something like that.
Yeah,
a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah, it was a great match and lots of high spots and just fun. So, yeah.
And it was funny because that was the main event of that show. But earlier in the show, I think was Lethal and Briscoe, or like another like match that should have been the main event, but it just started the show.
It could.
Oh no, it was probably Cole and.
It could have been because that match was just so hot. I mean, it kept the crowd really invested, mainly because it was sort of a spot fest, but it was fun.
But it was like it might have been Cole and Hangman Page versus like two other people, because it might have like. They might have had Cole and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Versus Lethal and somebody.
Lethal maybe, and that was a good match. Lethal and
I forget who it was.
Oh, who was it? I was there. I probably have a picture.
Because I know.
That was the one where they all did the chops and they all fell down, and then they got up and it looked like they were all going to do. I thought for sure they were going to do it again, but then they went into the next sequence.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Daniels and Kazarian. I don't think it was a Briscoe. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a fun night of tapings. But then there's my problem is, I just watched the pay-per-view. I'm all caught up on ROH TV, and then I go and I'm getting a match that's has nothing to do with because these next 2 weeks
it's completely irrelevant. Yeah.
Oh, guys who aren't even on the pay-per-view are wrestling. And it's like, okay, well, it's nice to watch these guys, but at the same time, I'm just getting generic matches until they get to the point where it's the day after the pay-per-views tapings. And it's like, oh, now we have the fallout. Now Adam Cole and Bullet Club, Adam Cole, addresses the Bullet Club about where were they? Why didn't they have his back? And, it's like 3 weeks later, and I get it because ROH is making their money off of ROHWrestling.com and the video on demand. So why would they show something immediately when they can delay it for 2 weeks and have maybe 2 weeks worth of people potentially purchasing the video to watch it themselves before they reveal it? So in a way, I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, well,
from a business standpoint, it makes sense. From an entertainment standpoint, it doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, if you want to be a legitimate wrestling company and you're talking about going against the company, you feel like your product is better than a company that's been around forever, well, they're weekly episodic, 2 times, 3 times a week,
live,
depending on what shows you count, live with pay-per-views and internet and stuff like that. And sure, they have the money for them, and Ring of Honor really does all they can with their money, and they do a really good job, much better than they did 3 years ago. But at the same time, it's like, well, now it's kind of, you lost the flow. If you had somebody who purchased that event on pay-per-view, and then they find a way to get Comet TV, because it's available in, like, the most backwater of, like, broadcast areas in the United States, and really hardly any metropolitan areas. But, like, Rochester, New York will have it, but New York doesn't have it. Stuff like that. Well, you're not really going to be hooking people. You're going to be like, nah, you know what? Maybe I'll just read the results online, and
sure,
just do that. So that's my little mini rant. And then the only other thing I have is that there's that, like, this person is making us upset because he or she is not performing like we want them to do. Rumor going around, and it doesn't make sense. Because it has to do with Alexa Bliss. WWE officials are upset with Alexa Bliss because she couldn't work a good match with somebody who's a sound veteran like Mickie James and has been underperforming. Well, if she's been underperforming, why did you make her your champion and then make her your 2-time champion?
Right.
So that's like the part that doesn't make sense.
There were other people. There's even people that haven't been on TV that you could just randomly do something crazy with and, like, be creative. But no, don't do that.
Yeah. And it's possible Adam Cole may be in NXT in April.
Wow.
I don't know. And Leo Rush has already told the company that he's not re-signing his contract. So I don't know where he's bound to, but he's a real lightweight flyer, and I know you've seen him in person.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like he'd be a legitimate contender anywhere else but Ring of Honor in terms of like having a chance.
Well, I mean, if you actually start bringing more people into 205 Live. I mean, like, if you actually start putting more people on that roster.
Yeah, we've seen, he doesn't have to go, like, the thing with wrestling fans is they have to understand that somebody doesn't have to graduate from someplace to go somewhere else and be on top.
Right.
Like, there's still a need for the mid-card and the lower card.
True.
Like, they need to fill the program. So for somebody to step up to WWE, a la, Tyler Breeze, and never see a win, well, that's not necessarily a reflection on Tyler Breeze. Well, maybe it kind of is, but at the same time, it's somebody has to lose, and that's where they need him right now. And maybe he can't grow, but he has a job. So
yeah,
that's to be said about that. All right, let's move on. Yeah, he's getting paid. Allegedly. We don't know. Well, no, we know with this company that people
right, exactly.
All right, let's move on to Monday Night Raw here. Let's start going through the weekly
let's do it.
Episodic television shows.
Live.
I know... Let's go right to the ending here. Let's get this out of the way.
Oh, man, you're going to make me do it? Okay, that's fine.
Well, let me set it up first
before
you do it.
Yeah.
So the whole theme of the show was that Stephanie McMahon wanted Mick Foley to basically grow a set. And gave him a list of names and said, you have to fire one person by the end of the night. Mick Foley's reply was, but it's WrestleMania season. Why would we want to send somebody home before there? That's not right. To Stephanie's point, she said... That's exactly the point. We need to show these people that no one's safe. They can't just, be comfortable. They have to always perform, always be above and beyond. So it needs to be done. So they teased a few names, blah, blah, blah. I got the sense that Mick Foley was going to name himself.
I did too.
Because we all know
I did too.
We all know Mick Foley's on the way out. a couple other people in the room watching with me said he's going to say Stephanie, which he did say Stephanie. And then the whole cop out was, you can't fire me, I'm your boss, blah, blah, blah. So no one got fired, which is, I'm good with that. No one needs to lose their job. I don't need some corny storyline that Mick Foley fired himself and walked out with his tail between his legs. He brought out the Sacco, got the moment with Triple H, because Triple H came. He ran down Stephanie. Triple H came out to make the verbal save for Stephanie. Triple H ran down Foley. Foley cowered in the corner. I don't know if he got hit. Did he get hit before that and he was laid out in the corner? Or Stephanie kicked him in the nuts. That's right.
Well, she low blowed, yeah.
Yeah, low blowed him. So he was in the corner. He broke out the sock, put the mandible claw on Triple H, blah, blah, blah. So, then as Triple H was about to get the upper hand on Mick Foley, out comes Seth Rollins on a crutch, but he doesn't need the crutch. He throws the crutch down. Then the crutch gets picked up at some point, and it basically winds up with Triple H laying out Seth Rollins after a little bit of a Seth Rollins offensive movement on Triple H. Now, well, I'm not even going to ask the question. What would you like to talk about in that regard?
All right, so I like this segment. Up until Seth Rollins, who came out and defended the beloved GM, Mick Foley, is laying on the ground, and no one from the locker room shows up. No one who's just as disgruntled with the authority. No one who's just as, has just as much contempt for Triple H for whatever reason. No one shows up. I have a massive problem. I have a massive problem with this, not because of this in a nutshell, and you'll understand what I mean in a second, but because this is indicative of the problem with WWE, in my opinion, with the way they tell stories. We live in a totally different entertainment realm than we used to. Larry, what do you do now if there's a really cool show that comes out, or what's a really popular way to watch a television show now? A new television show that comes out. And I'm kind of throwing you to the wolves here. I'm not giving you any necessarily any clues, but
well, I mean, for me, I still watch things live, but there's DVR, there's Hulu, there's other mediums out there that you can subscribe to. USA On Demand or WWE Network or whatever show you're watching has a platform on. I don't know if you want to call it social media, but they have an app.
Sure.
Where you can watch their shows day after or whatever you do.
And there's multiple terms that have been derived from the way people consume media these days. There's binge watching, there's, Netflix and chill, which has other connotations and stuff like that. But
Netflix and Maddox.
Stop it. But anyway, so there's, people consume media in a totally different fashion than they always have. And WWE even uses that as a cop-out for their ratings all the time. Well, people aren't necessarily just watching live. People DVR, people watch on mobile devices. By the way, what mobile devices? Because you can't watch USA Network on a mobile device for WWE. They don't air any WWE content on their apps. So,
and the WWE Network doesn't put it live on their own network because they have the contract with NBC.
So the next time anyone, I don't care who you are, if it's Triple H, if it's Vince McMahon, if it's Stephanie McMahon, wants to use that as a cop-out for the ratings, they're lying. That's marketing spiel, because there is no way to watch the WWE broadcast of Monday Night Raw or Tuesday Night SmackDown or SmackDown Live, whatever. There's no way to watch it live on a device without just watching it through a pirate stream. Just saying.
You can get it next day on Hulu, I think, an abbreviated version of Raw, and I think it might be the full version of SmackDown.
But unless there's some unadvertised way that for some reason they're not telling people about, there's no way to do it. So that's a lie. That's marketing speak. Anyway, people binge watch. People watch things all in one sitting. And what makes that so intriguing for people, like my wife is watching Designated Survivor on Fox's streaming channel right now, or not Fox, ABC's streaming channel right now. Sorry, I got confused because of Kiefer Sutherland. I'm getting your typing a lot. But
you're getting my typing, but they're not getting my typing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. Never mind. Sorry. But my recording is anyway. So anyway, I say all that to say, people watch things in a long. People will watch 13 hours of television in a weekend, maybe even in a day sometimes, because there's this cohesive, interwoven story where what one character does affects other people. In WWE, all the top guy storylines are in this vacuum sealed bubble where they don't touch anybody else. They may be mentioned, but they don't touch anybody else. Triple H beating down Seth Rollins, nobody comes out and objects to that. And yes, you can say, well, Seth was there to defend Mick Foley. Okay, where's the rest of the locker room? Where's anyone else that Mick Foley has endeared himself to? Where's anyone that Seth Rollins has endeared himself to? Because he's now, in my opinion, he's finally gone full babyface, and he did that with his last promo with Triple H in the ring. Where I don't care how many people hate Seth Rollins, from a character standpoint, I don't care if the entire locker room is against him. They're no more against him than they are against Triple H. And they would at least come to the ring to see the beatdown. And that used to be something that happened. That like lumberjack matches, and I'm not saying they need to have a lumberjack match, but lumberjack matches, a lot of times there were people who viciously hated, the heels viciously hated the babyface for a reason, or the babyfaces viciously hated the heel in that match for a reason. There was this interwoven story where everyone had a reason to be there for the most part. It wasn't just a lot of random people, although that's happened too. But anyway, it really ticks me off that, and this is a microcosm of that problem where the stories don't touch. Nothing is interwoven. And where is the rest of the locker room? That was I was actually screaming at the screen. Where is anyone else? Like, if you want to make the next big star, this is where he shows up. This is where he shows up. You have a guy that people are like, why are you here? And maybe you expect him to beat up on Rollins, and instead he beats up on Triple H, which, by the way, remind me, that's actually going to be, if it's not one of yours, that's going to be one of my things that we talk about later.
Well, let me quickly interject here to
I will revisit this for what I just said. But anyway,
let me put your point in perspective here real quick,
go ahead,
because we're talking about a bubble between Seth Rollins and Triple H and the Authority, and I don't think you mentioned that word yet. But before this, it was the Reigns and the Authority, and Daniel Bryan and the Authority, and everything's always been inclusive to two sides, and never really, except for that one time, it was like the Shield versus the Authority through the Evolution proxy kind of thing. It's always only been and has been, and not just with Triple H and the Authority, basic tunnel vision when it comes to feuds in the WWE.
Yeah.
It's two people, and it's never like really a round robin unless they just decide they're going to do a 6-way match out of nowhere.
Yeah, which actually means nothing.
Which everyone then pairs off from.
Yeah, and
to have their own.
But it really means nothing. Right. In like that match, like, it's just like, why is this happening?
Right. You don't have a Triple H versus Stone Cold match where The Rock runs out and then, HBK super kicks somebody, and then next thing you know, like, the Nation of Domination's coming to run down, and then the Attitude Era, where just there were so many different factions and individuals and personalities, and even on WCW at the time on Nitro, anybody seemed to be able to mix it up with anybody on any given night, regardless of what the pay-per-view match was set to be.
And it actually meant something.
Right.
Yeah. They weren't just randomly having matches.
But now it's just like, okay, we're gonna have these two in a storyline, and the only thing that's going to alter the storyline is who's going to be their partners, and in the matches leading up to this match, and who's going to be the individual this guy fights when this guy runs in and stuff like that. So there's people in there's third wheels, so to speak, in the terms of feuds, but there's never really, there's not a good feud that mixes a couple people up. And I said this to you. I said this made me excited for when Braun Strowman interjected himself while in a feud with Sami Zayn. He went after Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
On the same Raw.
Correct.
And it was like, wow.
And Braun Strowman is like a microcosm of everything they're doing right for the most part, except I still don't understand why he lost to Reigns, but no one does. So.
Something happened.
But yeah.
Yeah, obviously. But something happened on that night in Raw.
Yes.
Braun Strowman broke the mold, broke the bubble.
Yeah, again.
He went after something.
Again, I feel like everything they do with Strowman right now, besides that loss, everything is right. And even in that loss, he was protected to an extent. But everything they have done with him, and I didn't even think about something about that loss until just now, which I'll talk to you off air. It's actually a little brilliant, but that they did. So kudos to them, even though I'm not going to talk about it on the show. But I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. I just want to say, like, credit where it's due. Things they're doing with Strowman are amazing. And to your point on this, and you're probably about to roll into it, and I'm interrupting. I apologize. But I think what they're doing with Roman and Taker, keeping it in as tight a bubble as possible, even with Braun interjecting a little bit, that completely makes sense. No one should.
I think I just ripped my chair.
What?
All right, go ahead. Sorry. No, I put my hands back behind my head and like my thumb just like went right through the leather of my chair.
Oh no!
I believe.
Oh no! That's not good.
I'll take a look later. No, it's not.
Oh, okay. But anyway, yeah, I think that makes sense because those two guys. I mean, that story in isolation makes sense. It's just none of the other stuff does, being so isolated from each other. Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted, but just saying, Strowman's right. Roman Taker is right. Continue. Sorry.
No, it's just basically to summarize your point. It's just they're not, they're very tunnel visioned with and this is why the product has felt flat for so long. SmackDown did things a little bit differently, but let's be honest, it's the same company. It's just on SmackDown it was fresh because it was kind of a new branded show because it went live and had its own roster and had better people that in terms of more exciting, flashy, fan favorite personalities. They didn't do their tunnel vision. They kind of mixed it up with everyone in their roster. But now it's on the opposite side of the spectrum. It's just like, well, then it's just all these guys are in the division and all they do is fight each other.
Yeah,
and then on Raw,
now it's like nothing matters at all.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's like find that happy medium of yes,
it contradicts Raw.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you have the same feeling. It's just like, oh, here we go again, another 6-woman title match at WrestleMania,
sure.
Another 6 tag team match to open, the pre-show, stuff like that. I do want to comment on one thing about Raw as we move on.
Okay.
I really liked them finally having Dana Brooke give it to Charlotte.
Yeah, and what was up with the stall on that? Like, did she get hurt? Because I felt like
she was training for the Arnold Classic, which she finished in dead last place. Though I saw her routine, and my God, it was garbage. And I don't know much about fitness competitions since ESPN yanked it off the air in the '90s, but her presentation on it was just horrible. You know how she always does that thing in the ring? In NXT, she did it more, where she does the arm thing down, she moves her hand down, but she did it like 27 times on the way to the ring. That was like what her routine was. It was like whatever she did like 20. Like all she did was that half flip cartwheel thing that she does when she comes to the ramp, from the stage.
Right.
She did that at least 17 times, and that was really only the thing that she did, other than like posture movement with her arms. And like maybe a couple flexes here and there. Like it was really bad. It was embarrassing. It was yeah, I will say it. It was cringeworthy. If you've ever watched a fitness competition before, if you're in your mid-30s like I am, or late 30s, and you've known ESPN when they used to have like billiards and bowling and fitness competitions on like weekday afternoon television.
Yeah, back when everyone was saying this stuff isn't sports and it wasn't wrestling.
Yeah, but then it became the 24-hour LeBron James channel, and everyone's like, "This is garbage," and no one watches it anymore.
Sure.
And networks aren't even watching it. Networks don't even cable companies don't even want to hold it air ESPN anymore because the ratings are so bad and they want so much money. But yeah, it was pretty bad, and she was training for that. I don't know if she got a leave of absence for it, if she was off TV because of it, or if she just did other things. Because again, Tunnel Vision proved that it was Sasha versus Charlotte, and then Bayley versus Charlotte, and then but with the women, it's always been like as a one thing. It's always been, and it's different because they have limited segments. So they always seem to jam the people in the women's division, even though it's always two people in the main event. They've done a good job of always making you aware that Nia Jax is still there. And oh, by the way, Dana Brooke is still here. And listen, take this joke for what you will. Emma's still on the division, on the roster. And she got a promo every single week for as long as she did. So they still always wanted to put those people...
They still acknowledged her.
On the forefront. So, and even though she's going back to Emma, and now she's doing the promos again for Emma, it's just so ridiculous. But hey, listen, she's on the roster and she's there. We can't say the same about, Alicia Fox gets on TV as well with Noam Dar, but we can't say the same about the other girls who aren't on the roster or on the roster that they don't do anything with, like Tamina Snuka, Summer Rae, and even acknowledging Eva Marie is still around, or even Paige is still around, that for now they just but again, you keep them off of TV, it's a bigger surprise when they come back. So it's kind of a little give and take there. So it's not contradicting myself. Sometimes you want to do it, sometimes you don't want to do it, so that their return has more of an impact. I don't know how you can make a Summer Rae return impactful, but at the same time, it's there if they ever want to do it. But I'm glad Dana Brooke is finally on her own. I can't help to think that they're really setting this up to be adding more people to this match.
See, that's what I thought.
It goes on.
That was sort of like, and especially the way the crowd popped for it, that was great. But I'm just like, this is good from a character standpoint. I don't think this is good from a division standpoint, because this could just turn it into, we have two women's free-for-alls, and some random person walks out with the championship, then they lose it the next night to the previous champ, and that's it. That's like, it could just be
they're gonna Zack Ryder the belt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could very well be the exact same thing on both shows for no reason, and essentially
Charlotte wins on the pay-per-view, Sasha beats her on Raw.
Yeah, something like that.
Yet again. So we're going to fast-track Charlotte to 16-time women's champion pretty soon. Probably going to come by Survivor Series, so stuff like that. Hey, listen, last thing on the Raw roster.
Well, I think it was relevant that she was 16-0 before the streak was broken, by the way.
Yeah, I really don't think they should have broke the streak, but
no, they shouldn't have. But they broke it at 16-0, and I mean,
yeah,
that's not coincidence. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania, so it kind of could be coincidence at the same time. To keep the title on Bayley, they can't let Charlotte win there, else they're going to give away another title match on free TV and then stuff like that. But I understand the correlation that maybe they saw 16 and decided not to do it, but whatever the case may be. But the last thing I do want to say about Raw is it doesn't look like the Big Show versus Shaq is going to happen at WrestleMania.
Is that really over Twitter drama? Is that what happened?
What happened was, I think Shaq wasn't really taking it seriously.
Oh.
And I think it really did piss the Big Show off. And the Big Show kind of shot on him a little bit in character, but really with real feelings.
Sure.
About how this is what the Big Show does for a living.
Kind of how the Big Show is.
This might be his last WrestleMania. He's helping Shaq out by providing him the opportunity to wrestle him. This may be it. This might be his last dance at WrestleMania, blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't feel like Shaq is taking it seriously. He's not training. He's not talking it up. He's not promoting it like he should have been in terms of...
he's starting drama with Yo Mama on Twitter.
Yeah, and then Shaq's doing his own thing with that idiot from... I don't even know what he...
I don't even know. I just know, like, people have Sports Center on at work, so it's like... Yeah. I hear the same story 7 times.
Yeah.
So
Shaq and JaVale McGee, I think his name is.
Sure.
He's just the biggest idiot in sports. Like, there's so many memes about him just doing things. I think he's done things like put the ball in his own basket and block his own teammates' shots.
Nice.
And stuff like that over the course of his lifetime. So
fantastic.
Yeah, so Shaq has a Shaqking the Fool segment.
Yeah.
On where he calls out people, and he called out McGee, and McGee took offense, and then, like, you know, McGee's mom got involved, like, that whole thing. So he just started this whole thing, and it was just like, well, you know, maybe you should be worrying about your match instead of worrying about this little feud, and you should be working out a little bit. And I think it would, I think Shaq's point of view was, like, he's getting paid to do it, but, like, the negotiations aren't there. Like, he doesn't think the money's there to do it. But meanwhile, it's like, well, on Big Show's end, he's getting ready for it.
Right.
You know, because it's going to be like a marquee match, you know. Shaq, you know, anytime a sports entertainer fights a sports celebrity, like, as ridiculous as it is, when Karl Malone and DDP tag up against Rodman and Hogan, like, it's kind of a big deal.
That was mainstream.
Even though the wrestling is bad.
That was freaking mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah, even though the wrestling's bad, that was on Leno and stuff like that. And even Leno got into a feud with the NWO because of it. It was Leno, I think it was Leno and, Leno's band leader and DDP.
Yeah.
Was it Eugene Eubanks or something like that?
Kevin Eubanks.
Kevin Eubanks versus, you know, whoever. Like, probably Rodman and Hogan.
That's who it was.
But,
yep.
Yeah, so it's mainstream. It's publicity. It's WrestleMania. You know, you got to get the entertainers involved. You know,
well,
break open your audience.
And then, you know, I'm going to say, I'm going to throw this out there. It's bad that it seems to have fallen through. It's good because it's not another person from the outside coming in and beating up a WWE superstar and just completely invalidating them at every.
Yeah, normally I would be
front.
on that side, but the money is money, and if people are going to buy the pay-per-view or subscribe to the network and get the pay-per-view for free, then
yeah, sure.
Then, you know, then the loss means something.
I get you.
As opposed to just, like, at no mercy, somebody coming in and winning for no reason, or a part-timer. So, I mean, in that sense, listen, Shaq's not beating up Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
You know, he's beating up the Big Show, who's kind of out there in years, and nobody's really has vested interest in, although you know,
Detroit.
Yeah, well, listen, it was Big Show's been getting some pops lately.
Big time.
And I'm not too sure if that's like
I don't know if it's like people are like, we don't want you to go because we realize, you know, there's only one.
It was that Strowman match, you know? That Strowman match really said a lot for the kind of work Big Show could do.
Sure.
And then the kind of work they've had him doing the last few years and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, and just to close that point up, Big Show announced he's going to enter the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So unless that's storyline for a Shaq confrontation on Monday Night Raw, that remains to be seen. But it looks like that's going to be his place in WrestleMania at this time. I would like to see personally a Braun Strowman versus Big Show rematch.
Yeah, I think that would be really, 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 really. That could be sleeper hit of the show, honestly.
And it might not live up to the Raw one, or it might be a dud in terms of like crowd getting burned out by the time that match goes on.
Sure,
but it's certainly going to be good. It certainly has the potential of being good because the Raw one was pretty good in the limited time that they had.
Yeah. All
right, let's move on to SmackDown Live here, and the big story here, and there was actually quite a bit of this show was very entertaining. I'm not really into the Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton stuff, and I ranted about it last week, and I don't really want to get into it this week, other than to say, like, I just don't get it. There's still no reason to me why there was a legitimate joining up, like, can't beat him, join him, and then, like, there was determined that I'm not going to fight him, only to determine that we are going to fight him. Now, logically, we can probably piece together a good story for it. Randy really only cared about the title. Randy only kept Bray Wyatt close until it was time to strike, like the Viper he was, you know, blah, blah, blah. But they never, ever hinted outwardly at something. So while maybe it's not the worst of matches, it just feels like when that happened, there was no ultimate point of it. It just happened.
Well, it's kind of, to your point, or sort of side note, maybe it's not one of the worst of matches. Well, I mean, their feud wasn't that good before. So
that is valid point. But
and
listen, now he
weren't
burned
that
his
great,
sister's body.
but we'll see. So,
But now he burned his sister's body.
sure, but
Like, where are the feels for me? Like, where should they be? Should I be sympathetic towards Bray Wyatt, or should I be on board Randy Orton for just having the balls to do that? Like, I just don't know. Like, if I have to have an emotional.
This is the problem with everything being a gray area. With every character being a gray area. Like, as much as people hate John Cena, hustle, loyalty, respect, for the most part, that he's the good guy. And so if you want to hate
this is the bad guy.
Yeah, if you want to hate on the good guy, that's fine. That's fine. But you know who the good guy is supposed to be.
And you know why you're hating the good guy, because he's overly good. He's too goody-goody. He's always saying the right things, the rah-rah speeches.
Yeah.
And you're tired of it.
Right. Which is,
or you're going because he's an amazing athlete. He's been on top of the world, and he has a hot girlfriend. So I'm going to root for him. Like, there's that line, and you know which side you're on.
But you're right. With Orton and Bray, it's just like, I mean, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? I mean, it's almost a Katie Vick storyline. Not really, but
wow.
Yeah.
We went there.
Yeah. But it's
here's the thing, weird. Though. Like X-Pac, and I don't really always quote Sean Waltman and his opinions on something as like gospel, but I read something this week that talked about him and why there are no true heels anymore, and he put it into perspective as a kind of guy who is adapting with the business in terms of, well, you can't have that heel anymore because there's a lot of things that go on in the day-to-day operations of being a heel, having people insult you in front of your family, this and that, selling merchandise, making it difficult when you're on the road, like having, invested interest in somebody, or not a vested interest in somebody because you hate them so much that you're going to turn the product off or boycott their matches and stuff like that. And that's in the day and age we're in now, where if you had a big heel, a true heel, and he didn't do like the heel stuff that Kevin Owens does that the Smart Mark fans like, but he did like traditional heel 80s, 70s stuff, the fans would turn on you in such a way that you probably wouldn't even watch the guy anymore. Maybe turn the channel, maybe find alternative programming during that time. Whereas somebody like Roman Reigns, the fans hate him, but he gets this unique reaction to the point where like people aren't turning the TV off. They don't necessarily want to see him win. They don't necessarily have to like him, but he's getting that good for business reaction, no matter what you think about him.
Well, everything is gauged on reaction now, not on. It's reaction only, and that is emotion neutral. It doesn't matter what and the reaction is. It's just reaction.
And you want to bet he's probably in the top 5 T-shirt sales on WWE.com, shop.com.
Oh yeah, nice. I'm sure. Not that necessarily translates to money for him, but I guess it does say something to
it's
the
money
office,
for the company.
To the office.
So why would they need? Yeah, why did they need to turn him heel? Was the point of the article
I get you.
basically? When somebody hates, like, why do we need a true heel? We got Roman Reigns getting heat. Why don't we make him heel? Well, why do we need to make him heel? He's getting a unique reaction. He's doing his business. Hey, he's not a babyface. He's got heelish reactions. And that was X-Pac's point. Sean Waltman's point was, like, in this day and age, you don't really need full-fledged babyface heels. You can have them mixed in. But then you can have a guy that's like, 80-20. And still kind of be, acceptable. Dean Ambrose is probably an 80-20 guy.
I mean,
depending
honestly,
on who he's feuding with.
I would say, honestly, Cena is. Because when he's in these babyface, double babyface feuds, like with Dean and stuff like that, they were both, it depended on the night which one was the heel or the babyface. And
John Cena delivers a promo that's heel worthy almost every time.
Correct.
In terms of cutting down the other person, stuff like
Correct.
that. So, can we talk about promos and the Miz and Maurice's promo on John and Nikki?
It was,
my God, it's so good.
And Miz had to help her a little bit through it, but once she got rolling, she was fantastic. And she impressed me. She actually impressed me.
And this is not a situation where I'm like, all right, well, these promos are making me hyped for this match, And by the way, the weekly topic we are talking about with the limited time we have left for it is going to be the hype for WrestleMania as it appears right now. So if you have any comments or suggestions, or if you're watching this on YouTube, please let us know what your hype is of the moment for WrestleMania coming in, 2 weeks? So
yeah,
I don't think I'm very hyped for the match itself, but man, these promos, even John, like, it's funny because, like, I feel like The Miz is winning the promo war, just like he did with Daniel Bryan, where the other reaction is just like, I know you are, but what am I? Like,
sure,
everything you're saying is a lie.
Sure.
Well, this guy just berated you, and then, like, the retort is, you're just making that stuff up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Cool. Great promo. Great response.
Yeah,
great crackback.
Yeah. Yeah.
John, like, that was, like, Nikki's take, was just like, you're just a liar. You're making that up. And then we're just going to fight you like bullies.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're saying bad things about us.
Here comes that 80-20 thing again.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like The Miz, this role for The Miz is so good, whether he's doing this with, and for John Cena as well, when he was doing it with The Rock, and a little bit with AJ Styles, although I felt like John was a little prickish with the AJ Styles stuff, because it chopped AJ Styles down without AJ having a word. It was just like, you think you're good, but you haven't beat me kind of stuff, and left AJ with the dumb look on his face after every promo. Whereas Miz is just there with his smirk, like, we just schooled you guys. What do you guys have to say about it? Oh, you're going to fight us. Okay, how? Class act. John Cena putting his hand on us. I actually thought it was pretty funny.
Well, and that's what's cool is, again, Miz is the only true heel in the business, and he gets the right and
Baron Corbin.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
he's getting there.
There's a few.
Yeah. But well, we can come back to that some other time. But his win last year in the Battle Royal was babyface worthy, and
well, we were talking a year, and that's like 7 years in terms of WWE storyline.
Well, well, and also what happened at Fastlane too. But anyway, or not Fastlane, but. I'm moving on. So, Miz. So, what's funny is he's that like amazing heel where there's a layer of truth to everything he says, and it's what you just said, where he's smirking and is just like, "Oh, you're going to put your hands on me," and it's like everything he's saying is manipulated for his own purposes, but there's a hint of truth to all of it. And that's good heel work. That's perfection in heel work, is that, Cena and Nikki do just kind of, run the place and do whatever they want. And here's proof. They're coming out and they get to beat us up because we said bad words about them. And so that's...
With and here comes the brother-in-law to make a match in their favor.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like what we had to say.
Exactly.
And they decided to fight us.
Exactly. And I mean, again. And it's like, you're proving the heel right, but he's still a heel because he's doing it for his own purposes, and he's not altruistic in his motives.
And that's when Daniel Bryan was the bully on The Miz, like berating him and poking fun at him and stuff like that. It's like, well,
so that's the shades of gray see, that's the shades of gray that I think I know.
Be a star.
I get behind that kind of shades of gray. It's when it's character shades of gray. Like, when the story is shades of gray, I kind of like it. When the characters are shades of gray, that's when I don't really like it. It's like, we know who the good guy is, we know who the bad guy is, but the bad guy has a point here, as opposed to what you were talking about with call back to Orton and Bray. It's the characters that are gray. We don't know who is actually the good guy. So anyway, sorry.
Right. And just to wrap up SmackDown with the few minutes we have left. The main story being AJ Styles attacked Shane McMahon in the parking lot, threw him through a window, basically got fired by Daniel Bryan in like the most like monotone way with no emphasis put on it. And then the show ending with Shane McMahon basically saying AJ Styles does have an opponent at WrestleMania, it's me. So there might have been fallout on SmackDown talking smack about the AJ Styles status with the company. Seems like Daniel Bryan fired him in storyline, of course, and Shane McMahon is going to nullify that firing for a match. Match may have stipulations on it.
Yeah, what if there's a career?
AJ.
What if there's a career on the line here? That could be interesting.
Well, I mean, all things pointed to AJ Styles is done with SmackDown, and he's going to be on Raw post WrestleMania. So it could be something where if AJ wins, he can get his release. You know, he can get, like, AJ wins, he can get traded to Raw. If he loses, he gets fired, kind of situation, or vice versa. If AJ wins, he keeps his job. If he loses, he gets fired. Whatever. It could have a stipulation attached to it, but we'll see. We'll see how it pans out next week. We'll catch up with Talking Smack just to see. I normally, if there's like any noteworthy stuff out of Talking Smack, I see it on my little news feed for wrestling, and I didn't see anything anything to do with that. So go there. Let me do lightning round here on NXT and 205 Live, just so we can get to a little bit discussion on them.
Yeah, super quick.
Yeah, NXT had a pretty decent show, and basically it was just more of the same of, and finally being official, where the tag team match at TakeOver Orlando is going to be a triple threat: Authors of Pain versus DIY versus the Revival for the championship. Bobby Roode beat Cassius Ohno, so it's Bobby Roode versus Nakamura for the championship. And Nikki Cross did a little bit of crazy, and everyone was happy for it. Over on 205 Live, well, Austin Aries won the match that we thought he was going to win, the 5-way match to become number one contender, and he'll move on to WrestleMania to fight the champion Neville. And, you know, other people wrestled and no one really cares because as of right now, it's really just a one-man show. Now, I will give it this one point, a little follow-up from what we talked about 2 weeks ago and something I mentioned last week. Austin Aries right now at Neville, and then with an Austin Aries chaser, Gallagher with Neville with an Austin Aries. Like, things are now stacking up to be more exciting than it was Rich Swann, the Brian Kendrick, TJ Perkins. I now have more of a vested interest in a 205 Live roster with Austin Aries, Neville, and Jack Gallagher getting all their time. At the same note, they need to have a little bit more added to the mix, and I have no doubt that they will. But at the same time, they need to be pulled away from Raw to make it fully inclusive.
Still on that.
Exclusive.
We'll beat that drum every week. Just
yeah, it has to be exclusive for people really to care. Otherwise, I'm just gonna watch Raw, and I'll get my fill on Raw, and they'll preview 205 Live, and I'll decide if
they'll recap 205 Live. They'll preview 205 Live. So why should I watch 205 Live?
And they'll preview 205 Live on SmackDown, and they'll do it on SmackDown. And I can pick and choose if I want to watch it or not. And if I don't want to watch it, then I can let somebody decide whether or not I should see the match or not. And that's the point we're at with 205 Live.
Sure.
And lastly, on the TNA ROH front, which I'll add into this mix every week because I am watching both things currently up to date now. The Latin American Exchange returned in a new iteration. Homicide, Conan, and then other dudes that I probably know who they are, but I couldn't really determine who they were in the 2 minutes I saw them on TV, like 10 minutes before the show started, when I watched it on DVR.
Can't believe Conan is back. That's
he's
amazing.
probably not going to wrestle, but
oh no, I mean he doesn't wrestle really. It seems
no. But then they're going to have. But he was walking without a limp, so that's finally good to see him do something
good.
like that. So they're going to do a 4-way match for the tag team titles that were vacated when the Hardys left the company and Vanguard 1 failed to teleport them to the Impact Zone. And that's what happened, actually. They fought the Hardys fought a kangaroo, and then Vanguard 1 went to teleport them, and only the belts went. And then the Decay found the belts.
But let's be real. That's fitting for them.
It's fun. It's a funny transition. It really is. It really puts a bow on the Hardy TNA broken gimmick package for TNA, and then they included it, and then they moved on, without, seemingly on air, dropping threats to the Hardys. But it seems like backstage there's a lot of lawsuits pending and stuff like that. Matt couldn't use Broken Hardy at the TV taping, the pay-per-view for ROH. He had to just be called Matt Hardy or the Hardys and stuff like that. So things are going on, and 1 week after winning the title on TV, everything's taped, mind you. 1 week after winning the title, El Patron had to relinquish the title because he used the belt as a weapon during the match, and other referees got involved, blah, blah, blah. And here we go again. Like, TNA's storylines are just all over the place immediately. And now we have the title. The title's either back in Bobby Lashley's hands or it's vacated. I really didn't get a sense on TV what happened. And all said and done, it's probably been determined at these tapings who actually really holds the belt. But as far as weekly TV goes, we're at a point right now where tag titles are vacated. The World Championship title may or may not be with Bobby Lashley. It may be vacated. And other titles haven't been in the mix. There's been an X Division title match this week, but that's about it. Like, the only title that's been on the forefront is Cody Rhodes' GWF Next Gen title, and that's
GFW.
That's just GFW. Get it right, sorry, that's just hysterical. That's like the only title that's been on the forefront of their TV. I don't know, they've done proper with the world title. It's just that there's no definitive conclusion to it. All right, so here we go. We got a few minutes left here. Enough for a little bit of pre-speculation on WrestleMania. What are we hyped for, and what are we like? Maybe like a few long shot predictions. Do you want to hear my long shot predictions?
Yeah, I want to hear yours first, and then I have a couple, and I'll be quick.
I have two.
Go.
One of them being that Taker versus Roman Reigns. We're gonna put Braun Strowman in the mix, and here's why. I know Taker can't wrestle. We know Taker can't wrestle a long match. Like, he's had more and more problems as the matches have gone on in the years. So
and he's just not looking good. I mean, it's just not like
he's looking like a dead man.
Once his entrance is over, it's just like, can he just go back?
Punch, walk the rope, and then that's basically punch, stomp. So how do we limit that? Well, we do the Larry booking of Angry Larry Guide to Booking WrestleMania. We turn it into a multi-man match, and we have Undertaker laid out, and Strowman and Reigns fighting it out, and then Dead Man will sit up, and at some point in the match come back into it, and blah blah blah. Maybe he even gets Shield power bombed through the table, a la from Reigns and Strowman. And then we'll have him laid out on the outside. We'll have those two fight, and he'll get back in the mix. Number two
could you imagine, real quick, a 2-man power trip of Reigns and Strowman? Oh. Anyway, sorry.
What do you mean?
Just you had Austin and Triple H as the 2-man power trip. Could you imagine something of that nature with Reigns and Strowman teaming up instead of trying to kill each other? Although I perfectly enjoy them trying to kill each other, but that could be amazing. But anyway, I digress.
Reigns, Rollins, and Strowman. There's your new Shield.
Ooh.
So here's number two. On the SmackDown front, on the Women's Championship match, all available women on the roster, Duke, are in the match.
All available women on the roster. That is interesting. That is interesting terminology. I noticed that too.
Fresh off her loss to Ember Moon, Asuka joins the women's division on SmackDown.
And just wins?
I'm not saying she's going to win.
Well, but what if
I'm just going to say...
What if she just came in and won? At freaking WrestleMania.
I mean, there's the trap we fall into all the time. We're graduating people from NXT and always expect them to be like an instant surprise, an instant winner, instant champion.
But it's Asuka.
So, that's fine. She'll get rid of the Brad Maddox Memorial title, and she'll grab the other title that hopefully is not featured in Alexa Bliss's video.
Can we Chris Benoit his name? I don't ever want to hear his name now. I hate that I did not know the news, although I'm glad I didn't know the news. But now that I know the news, can we just not talk about him anymore? That'd be great.
Oh my God, it's such a good verb though.
It's really not. It's really not. So do I get a couple of
absolutely.
Quick shout outs to weird predictions?
Go ahead. We have 2 minutes.
All right. How about Seth Rollins needs someone to fight for him because he is legit still on the mend, and he just happens to recruit his what's the word where you
Shield brethren?
No. what's the word where you're
Brother-in-law?
hang on, when you're recouping an injury, what's it called? Rehab. He just happens to recruit his rehab buddy.
Finn
Who
Balor?
better than to fight the King of Kings, but the Demon King? And let's find out who the real king is. I like it. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say for now. There are other things that make me think they may do that, but they may not. And they actually have time to pull it off.
What did you think I was gonna say?
Now I've forgotten.
It was probably something with women, and maybe.
Yeah, I think it was. What was it? I think it was related to the Asuka thing. I guess my other prediction is that Ember Moon wins, and like shocks the world. But I don't know. I feel like there's more money in that feud, keeping it going, but they're making a big point, and we talked about this off air. They're making a big point of Asuka's undefeated, Ember Moon's undefeated, and so it's like, do you hurt the streak of the up and comer, or do you finally have does the up and comer sort of shock the world by knocking off the streak? And Asuka's playing the cocky heel role at this point too, at least in this match, especially with that promo from this week. So I don't know. We'll see. But
Shinsuke Nakamura wins the Andre Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That's all I got.
Fantastic. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. I'm the Duke. He's the Larry. You've been showed.